What's going on, guys? It's Greg from Styles, and today we have a tutorial for you in the EVO QXO, the newest EVO from Warrior. This one's got our MJ15 mesh, Hero 3 in it, which you can shop with the link in the description. So for this, we've got the 9-diamond top string, and then we've got a pocket that is a pretty general pocket, right? The channel's not too tight. I think this is a good starting point for a lot of you guys with the EVO QXO, and then you can make little modifications once you get used to it, but this is a good starter pocket if you're not quite sure where to start with this head. So we've got pretty much a mid pocket that shifts up a little bit, shifts down a little bit, not too tight of a channel, would be great for pretty much every position that will be using this head. And so it's a pretty simple tutorial, knots and ones. With the 9-diamond top string, we'll put the relevant tutorials specifically for all those things if you want to rewatch them to refresh down in the description. And now I'm going to show you how to do this sidewall pattern. So here we've got the EVO QXO. We skipped our first sidewall hole and did the top string on the second. So that means we're going to start our sidewall pattern on the third with a loop, just like we normally do, through the outside and then up through the mesh and around back through that same sidewall hole to create a loop, just like that, very simple. And then you'll do it again just to make it as tight as possible. So back through that same third sidewall hole that you started with, and there we've got our double loop on the first hole of mesh, and we're ready to get into the knots. So for the first one, just like we do a lot of the time, we're gonna skip 2 sidewall holes. So skip, skip, and then come down to this 5th one through the outside of the sidewall. To start the knot, and then up through from the face of the mesh to the back, and then take that string and come back around and through the outside of that slack of that loop. And then once you pull all the slack out, it should look like this. You can see we've got the mesh pulled nice and tight and an overhand knot right there holding it down to the sidewall. So we're going to repeat that process again, this time only skipping 1 sidewall hole. See, we skipped the sidewall hole, came down to the next one, and I'm going to do our knot one more time. So that is the 3rd diamond of mesh, and now we're going to take the 4th diamond of mesh and do the same thing one more time, skipping another sidewall hole to make sure the mesh is all pulled down very tightly. There we go, get all those knots nice and tight. So you've got 3 knots there pulling the mesh down very tightly down the sidewall, and now we're going to do a 1. So this time, instead of going through the sidewall first, we're going to go through the mesh first. So through the face to the back, get that mesh on that string, and then we're going to skip a sidewall hole and go through the outside of the plastic and then up through that loop without going back through the mesh. And then pull that nice and tight. You can see you've just got that mesh riding on the string there. And now we're gonna do the same thing again, but with a 2. So up from the face of the mesh to the back, and then again through the next hole of mesh without going through the sidewall. That's gonna stack those diamonds up on top of each other and get them really tight. And then you can go through the sidewall from the outside and back under the loop without going back through the mesh. And there we don't want to skip any holes, so you can see it's really tight there. Next up, we've got another 1. So up through just 1 hole of mesh, and then back through the sidewall without skipping any holes. And then finally, 1 more 1. There we go. Don't skip any holes here as well. And then for our last one, we'd like to go through the back of the mesh first, just to make it sit a little nicer. Down here at the bottom, we're going to do our tie off and then go through the last sidewall hole for this from the inside to the outside, and there you can tie off your knot and you're done with the sidewall pattern. Now that's all wrapped up. Once you've got it strung, make sure you pound that pocket in really well, and then we're going to talk about bottom string. So here we've got just a simple loop on the next 10 diamond row. So last 10 diamond row, come down to the next one, do a simple loop across through the bottom, and you'll have a pretty good bottom string. You can tighten it or loosen it depending on how deep you want the pocket. And if you want to bump that up a little bit, it'll pull the pocket in and make it a little more shallow and a little bit higher. But if you want it to move around a little bit, this is a good place to be with the bottom string. And then for shooting strings, you can have some flexibility there. Remember, they have to be in the top 4 inches of the stick. So just a nylon and a couple straights up there on the top will be really solid for this pocket. So thanks for watching, guys. Make sure to like if you liked it, subscribe if you have not. We have a ton of great content coming this spring. Highlights, tutorials, gear reviews, everything you could want. Leave us a comment if you have any questions. We'd be happy to answer them, and have a great day.